Arrest, trial and death of Jesus Christ. According to the descriptions from the Synoptic Gospels, Jesus came to Jerusalem with his followers during the Passover celebration. He was greeted by a large crowd of people, shouting, "Hosanna, blessed be he who comes in the name of the Lord, even the King of Israel." During his royal entrance, Jesus created a commotion in Herod's temple by disrupting the tables of the money changers who set up their shops there, saying that they had made the temple a den of robbers. Mark 11:17. Later that week, Jesus celebrated the Passover with his disciples at a feast known as the Last Supper, where Jesus announced that one of his disciples would betray him, after which he would be executed. During this ceremony he took the bread in his hands saying, "This is my body which is given for you, and this cup is the new covenant in my blood which is shed for you." He then told them to do this in remembrance of him. Luke 22:7-20. After dinner, Jesus and his disciples went to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray. While they were in the garden, Jesus was arrested by the temple guards, by order of the Sanhedrin and the high priest Caiaphas. Luke 22:47-52, Matthew 26:47-56. The arrest took place in secret during the night, to avoid riots, because Jesus was very popular with the people. Mark 14:2. Judas Iscariot, one of Jesus' apostles, betrayed him by showing him to the guards by kissing him. Simon Peter, another disciple of Jesus, took a sword and attacked one of the guards, cutting off his ear, which, according to Luke, Jesus immediately miraculously healed. Jesus rebuked the apostles with the words, "He who fights with the sword will perish by the sword." Matthew 26:52. After his arrest, Jesus' apostles went into hiding. During the Sanhedrin's trial of Jesus, the chief priests and elders asked Jesus, "Are you then the Son of God?" To which he replied, "You say that I am," after which they accused him of blasphemy. Luke 70-71. The chief priests then handed him over to the Roman procurator Pontius Pilate, on the charge of sedition, because he claimed to be the king of the Jews. Matthew 27:11, Mark 15:12. When Jesus came before Pilate, he asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And Jesus answered him, "You say." According to the Gospels, Pilate personally did not think that Jesus was guilty of any offense against the Romans. And as it was the custom for the Roman governor to release a prisoner for the Passover, a custom not recorded, except in the Gospels, Pilate offered the gathered crowd a choice between Jesus of Nazareth and a rebel named Barabbas. The crowd decided to release Barabbas and crucify Jesus. Pilate washed his hands to emphasize that he was not guilty of an unjust decision. Matthew 27:11-26.
According to all four Gospels, Jesus died before dusk on the hill of Calvary, known as Calvary. The wealthy Jew Joseph of Arimathea, a member of the Sanhedrin according to Mark and Luke, received Pilate's approval to take Jesus' body and bury it. Mark chapter 15 verses 42-46, Luke chapter 23 verses 50-56. According to John, Joseph was joined by Nicodemus, who helped him bury Jesus and is also mentioned in other parts of John's Gospel, John chapter 19 verses 38-42. The three synoptic Gospels say that an eclipse of the sky occurred from 12 to 3 that afternoon. Matthew also mentions an earthquake, Matthew chapter 27 verse 51. Resurrection and departure of Jesus Christ. According to the Gospels, Jesus rose from the dead on the third day after his crucifixion. The Gospel according to Matthew says that an angel appeared next to the tomb of Jesus, which was open and empty, and announced his resurrection to the other Mary, Mary. According to Luke, there were two angels, Luke chapter 24 verse 4, and according to Mark, a young man dressed in white, Mark chapter 16 verse 5. The longer end of Mark's Gospel says that on the morning of his resurrection, Jesus first appeared before Mary Magdalene, Mark chapter 16 verse 5. John says that when Mary looked into the tomb, two angels asked her why she was paying, and when she turned, she did not immediately recognize Jesus until he spoke her name, John chapter 20 verses 11-18. The book of Acts tells us that Jesus appeared to different people in different places during the next 40 days. A few hours after his resurrection, he appeared before two disciples on the road to Emmaus, Luke chapter 24 verses 13-35. He appeared before the gathered disciples in the evening after his resurrection, John chapter 20 verse 19. According to the Acts of the Apostles, the Apostle Paul had a vision of Jesus during his conversion. as his ministry was appointed to the Jews. Jesus sent his apostles to preach his word to other nations, and then ascended into heaven. Matthew chapter 28 verses 16 to 20. Jesus promised to come again to fulfill part of the messianic prophecy.